Everybody join in. Good evening, everyone. This is Tejinder Singh. I'm with the board for Friends of Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge. This is our part of our Seek the Refuge series. Um, we had a couple of months of break in these sessions, but we have an excellent session prepared for you today. I know what makes it special is that the presenters today, they are part of the refuge. You know, both of them, Willow and Karrie, they have been an interns that just started in the fall, this fall, with the Friends group. They bring a lot of experience, not only, they're very young, but they bring a lot of experience, a lot of leadership, and a passion for conservation. And you'll see that today when they, present their slides today. So our plan is we'll let them have the run through their slides first, and then we'll do the Q&A at the end. With me, there's also Tara, who is also part of the board. So if you have any questions, you can put the questions in the chat. We can take those questions from there. We'll also just post a couple of links. You know, as you just heard, the refuge would be opening up, and we have our holiday, the Christmas coming up, Christmas festival or the Christmas event that we do at the refuge coming up on December 7th. So we appreciate you supporting us, sticking with us through this shutdown that we had. Turning it over to Karrie and Willow. I know, Karrie, you're sharing your screen, so we'll just let you both run through your slides, do your presentation, and then we'll have Q&A at the end.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about our career so far. Willow's gonna go first. Willow, just let me know when you want me to advance to the next slide.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Willow Barnes. I recently just finished my fall internship at Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge. And in this little presentation, I'm going to explain a little bit about my journey into conservation.
Next.
Okay, so growing up, I live in a city, so it's not like I had much like outdoor experience, I guess you could say. But I've loved the outdoors. I've always loved the outdoors, and I'm always outside taking pictures and grabbing anything I can get my hands on. And so that's kind of always been a thing. Even like being in a city, like my cousin has a ditch near her driveway, and we would be like little kids catching frogs out there. Now, with that being said, I've always enjoyed it, but I didn't actually understand the importance of the ecology and conservation part of like, the world in general until I got to college. And then you're good. We can click it. Okay, so when I went to college, I was kind of all over the place. I knew I wanted to do something with animals, but I didn't know what. I just knew I didn't want to be a vet. Um, I was going to college to wrestle and something animal related, and that's all I knew. And so I was just going on this little journey. Now, animal related, obviously, I went biology. So I started taking biology classes, and one of my professors convinced me to change my focus to conservation biology, which I was kind of interested at first, but he persuaded me in a way that's because it was like a more skilled focus where it's like direct, like it's conservation, but it wasn't as broad as biology. And it kind of persuaded me, and I listened to him. So my focus was conservation biology. And then at my school, I went to Missouri Valley College in Marshall, Missouri. It's in the central Missouri, so in the middle of nowhere almost. I got to do a lot of hands-on work and take some very interesting classes that are heavy in my focus, and so that was amazing. Classes like herpetology, mammalogy, conservation biology. We even took classes called field biology, where we would go to Utah and be in the middle of the desert collecting research. So all that experience was amazing. The classes just made me even more interested in the conservation topic itself. I believe it wasn't until like my actual ecology class itself where I was like, wow, I want to somehow protect the world, like protect the wildlife. Everything related around animals for sure, but I just, after my ecology class in college, that's when I was really certain that like conservation was for me. Now, in college, I got to do an independent study on, uh, I got to do an independent study on the demography of turtles in like a small farm pond in Missouri. And basically, it was a mark recapture study on the Amididae family. During that study, I'm sorry guys, I got a dog, so if he whines a little bit, just block him out. But so in that study, I got to study the population size, abnormalities, what else? And I got to practice photo IDing on turtles. So we would trap the turtles in hoop nets, baited with sardines, and then it was a mark recapture, so we were notching turtle shells, and it was a great experience. I've always been a fan of turtles. I've always been a fan of turtles. I've had a turtle since I was like a pet turtle since I was probably like 7, I think. So turtles have always interested me, but after my independent study, I was like, wow, to work with turtles would be amazing, which is convenient because, go ahead, Karrie. My first field after graduating, I was struggling to find a field related job at first. But my first field related job, I saw the posting and I was like, that's perfect. And it was actually at the Toledo Zoo being a field technician. So what that insisted of was collecting research basically for the zoo. So we basically started and ended our day at the zoo, but we spent our days in like swamps and creeks and a little bit of everywhere. So we were working with endangered species such as like the Blandon's turtle. And we would also mark them with shell notches, collect data, draw blood. Then whatever turtles happen to be in our nets, we collected data from all that. So if it was a snapping turtle, we'd collect data from that. And we got to be in such pretty places. It was amazing. The whole summer, I got to be a field technician, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm thankful for the Toledo Zoo for giving me that opportunity. And honestly, I'll probably be there this spring as well, doing the same thing. You're good to go. So after the Toledo Zoo, after being a field technician for the whole summer, I got an internship through Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge. And through that, I got to do some things like working with the hunt program and spraying invasive species with the spray truck. It was quite the experience. So I went from all summer working with the animals, like working on animals like turtles and snakes included, to actually working with the land itself. So that was a different experience itself alone. So now I was working on like the land management versus the turtles. So my time there, I recently just ended that, but it was a great time. I got to learn different things, even just breathing in the outdoors, like walking through the trail and just trimming the little bushes and everything. It was nice. And that's about all I got.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Karrie Smith. I am currently a fall intern at Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge, and I will also be taking you through how I got into wildlife conservation and where this professional journey has taken me so far. I'll end with some of my goals and advice for anyone going into this field. So my why did I go into this field is that I grew up out in the country experiencing nature on a daily basis and getting into the outdoors. I began fishing and hunting at a young age and remained interested in outdoor sports. My main role model was my dad, who taught me how to hunt and fish, but both my parents and both of my siblings all set great examples for me of what it means to appreciate nature and be a conservationist. because of the outdoors being such a large part of my life growing up, from playing in the woods to eating venison and fish on a regular basis, I knew I wanted to go into a career that would help conserve the outdoors for future generations. On the left, you see me with the first deer I ever shot in 2017. And then the middle picture is me with my first compound bow harvest in 2021. And then the picture on the right is me this spring with a largemouth bass that I caught. So going into college, I was not sure exactly what kind of jobs I wanted to look for after graduating, but I knew I wanted to focus on the environment. I began my college education at Northwest State Community College, which is in Archbold. So I grew up in Northwest Ohio, right up in the corner, and I wanted to stay local. So I commuted to Northwest for 2 years and graduated with an associate's in science and an associate's of arts. From there, I knew I wanted to stay close to home and get back into playing basketball. So I attended Defiance College and played D3 basketball there. I chose to major in environmental science because of my passion for the outdoors and conservation. Defiance College also is limited in the amount of conservation related majors, so this was just the best fit for me. I also minored in exercise science because of my passion for fitness and sports and my goal to continue coaching. So I'm currently one of the Special Olympics track coaches for Defiance County, and I very much enjoy that experience. I had great mentors at Defiance College who encouraged me to stay curious and follow my passions. So I had participated in the summer research program, which focused on water quality of the Maumee River, and got experience with water sampling and diatom analysis. The picture in the top left is of some of the other students that I worked with in the summer research program. And we presented our research as a poster at the McMaster Symposium, which is at Defiance College every spring, and at a national research conference in Pittsburgh called NCUR. For my senior capstone project, I did drag sampling for ticks at 2 different sites local to Defiance. That's a picture of me in the top right during my senior capstone that summer. I presented that research at 2 different conferences as well. And then the picture in the bottom right is of me and my advisor, Dr. Kane, who was one of the biggest influences in my career so far. My senior year, I also worked as a writing consultant and the undergraduate research technician for the Defiance Research Alliance, which focuses on water quality and the Maumee watershed. I assisted with city water sampling for them and diatom analysis as well, and began a research project centered around soil health. Apart from research projects in college, I had a couple classes at Defiance, which led me to wildlife conservation. I took an ecology and restoration ecology class with Dr. Kane, which included a lot of time out in the field during lab. We collected arthropods using pitfall traps, which you can see in the bottom left. So it's just a plastic cup and a plastic cone inside of it, and the bugs fall in there. And then we collected them and analyzed those for diversity. And we presented that project at McMaster as well. So after that, also in ecology, which was my favorite class in college, we got to handle snakes and spotted turtles with a Toledo Zoo turtle crew and salamanders in Indiana. These experiences helped open my eyes to all the different wildlife that I could work with. Even though my passion was with deer and fish, I began to take interest in everything. So after graduating from Defiance College with my bachelor's in science, I began working full-time for the Toledo Zoo as the herpetology telemetry technician. I worked for Matt Cross, who is the vertebrate conservation director at the Toledo Zoo and who also taught my GIS class at Defiance College. He and Dr. Kane both encouraged me to apply for this job. At first, I wasn't sure because it was working with snakes and that wasn't something that I was super familiar with. But because of my experiences at Defiance College, I was willing to learn and try anything. I picked up on telemetry quickly and began to really enjoy the job. I got to walk through the woods by myself all day and I got paid. That's amazing. So the snakes that we worked with were copperbelly water snakes. They all had transmitters and had been released the summer before, so 2024. Um, the batteries in the transmitters only last about a year. So once I got down to my last two snakes that still had battery, um, I found them both dead in the same day, which was the worst day in the field ever. So I was kind of like, what do I do now? But my boss let me become a part of the turtle cruise at the zoo, which is when I got to meet Willow and get a lot of experience with trapping turtles, a whole new set of skills, and got to meet a whole bunch of people, which was super fun. We trapped in and around the Erie marshes, like Willow said, we were mostly in marshes. Um, so Willow and I both had actually trapped turtles at Ottawa before we even knew that we were going to get the opportunity to work there. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed working with people again and gaining new skills. And then I also grew fond of turtles as well. Um, sorry, I lost my spot. Um, the picture on the left is of me holding my first snapping turtle, and then in the middle, Jay and I are processing a Blanding's turtle, which Willow talked about. Then the picture on the right is of me holding one of the copper bellies from the 2025 release. So after the second batch got released, those are the ones I tracked the rest of the summer. Along with turtles and snakes, I also got experience helping with the lake sturgeon project that the Toledo Zoo is a part of. So I got experience pit tagging those and releasing those at Sturgeon Fest in Toledo. I also still work for the zoo part-time, tracking snakes when I can on the weekends, but they're almost all in brumation for the winter. Um, and I'm also working on a poster with a colleague of mine, Alyssa Swarzenberg. Shout out Alyssa. That's a picture of her on the top of the slide. Talking about the home ranges of copperbellies, which will be presenting at the Midwest Fish and Wildlife Conference in January. So moving on to our experiences at Ottawa, like Willow said, we got to help with the hunt program. That's a picture of us on the right, putting out John boats for the units, helping put signs out and things like that. We also got to go on a mussel survey, so this is something I hadn't experienced as well. And that's the picture all the way on the left is we found a baby snapping turtle while we were in the creek, kind of just following the people doing the survey. So if you've never been on a mussel survey, it's people in wetsuits on their bellies in the water in the creek looking for mussels and collecting everything that they find. So that was super cool to see as well. We also got to do fun things like help build a scarecrow for a contest in Oak Harbor and work on some social media posts with the mascot. We also got to experience mothing. So one of the people that works at Ottawa, his name's Trevor. He's an expert in moths. Um, and mothing, you do it at night. So after dark, you put out a white sheet and then you put a light behind it and you get to see all the moths that come to it. So that was super cool as well. So after Willow her internship ended and the shutdown took place, I got to help out at Winus Point Shooting Club, which is mostly a duck club, but I also got to help with West Nile Project. So Gabby taught me how to mist net for songbirds and also use ground traps. So when the birds go into the net, we'd collect them, take measurements and everything, and then she'd draw blood, and that would get tested for the West Nile virus. And I also got to band a couple songbirds, which was really cool. Um, it was also super cool to see them in your hand. You don't usually get to see those small of birds that close. It's really cool to see all the details. Another part of the West Nile project is mosquito surveys. So I got to duck walk through culverts in waders and look for mosquitoes. I also got experience with bird calling recognition of some marsh birds, and that was super cool as well. Um, and then I got a couple days doing some raccoon trapping, and we sampled those for high path avian flu because it has spread to mammals. And then I also helped sample the ducks that the hunters would bring in for high path avian flu. And then we would also measure all the mallards that came through because, and I'm not an expert in this by any means, but what I've learned is that the mallard population east of the Mississippi is declining, and people think maybe it's because of breeding with like farm mallards that are being released. So we take measurements of the wings and the legs and to see if the ratio suggests that they might be bred with farm birds. And then finally, just some goals and advice. Um, in my future, I want to keep working closely with animals and wildlife as much as possible. I want to work hands-on as much as possible and be out in the field, working at a job that makes me feel like I'm making a difference. And then some advice that I have for anyone going into this field or just anyone developing professionally: don't say no to an opportunity. Apply for any job that you think might interest you, and interview if you get the opportunity as well. It's always good practice to interview, and the interview is just as much about you seeing if the job's a good fit for you as much as it is about them seeing if you're a good fit for the job. I also want to give a plug for the Texas A&M Natural Resources Job Board. If you haven't heard of it, it is by far the best place to look for jobs in this field and master's or PhD programs. And that's where I found this job, and also a lot of people at the zoo found that field tech position on there as well. Um, until you know what kind of wildlife you want to work with for the rest of your life, get experience with as much as you can. Do not limit yourself. You might find something that you have never heard of, and it might be your new favorite thing. And then finally, always keep a good attitude and be the hardest worker. Make yourself stand out by looking to do more than is asked of you. Promotions and more job opportunities will find you through connections and the people that you work for having a good impression of you. And then I think that's all I had. And then we'd just like to thank Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge and the Friends for giving us this opportunity. And we'll have the rest of the time for questions, I believe.
Great. No, thank you so much. Very sound advice. Works not only for, somebody starting young, but for anybody else also, no matter what, career, how far along in your career you are. So very sound advice. We'll open it up for any questions. I don't see anything in the chat, but if you want to, please unmute yourself and you can ask the question directly. While we wait, I do have one question. The copper belly snake that you had, is that like a local one? Because I have a friend who loves snakes, and I know Laurie on the call here also. So we only hear of like few snake types, but I've never heard about the copper belly. So is that like a local for Ohio or?
Yeah, they're local. There's a northern population and there's also a southern population
Mhm.
around Kentucky and southern Indiana. The northern population is in Northwest Ohio, Southwest Michigan, and Northeast Indiana. And it's a very small population, so that population is federally threatened. So that was the main reason that we worked with those.
Great. see if there was a question. I think just people. Then one more question. I know Willow had this picture at the very beginning where she had those turtles, but the whole SUV was filled with turtles. So what was that? What was that about? Willow.
The picture with all the turtles in the
Turtles
car.
in the back of a car. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was actually a part of my independent study. We just happened to forget a bucket that day, like a tote. And
Okay.
so when we were like went to take our data, all the turtles were like, I want to say running away. And one of the girls who I completed the independent study with, she was like, "Oh, we can just use my car." And I was like, "Okay, that's perfect."
Yeah.
So we put all the turtles in the car, and then as we like took our data, then we released them back into the pond.
In the
But we
pond.
just didn't have a tote that day, and there's about like I think 87 turtles in that picture.
Wow. And they were all species or some special species? They were all blanding turtles or?
Those ones were actually red-eared slider turtles.
Sad. Okay.
So the Blandins, that's what I worked with at the zoo. But before that, before the zoo, I'd never seen a Blandins in person. And so that
Oh,
was a cool experience too, to see the bright yellow neck they have.
yes, I love blanding turtles. Because I was, we were at the Cedar Point National Wildlife Refuge a couple of years ago. There was somebody from, I think, Toledo Zoo or UT who showed us how they mark blinding turtles, like they use a Dremel to mark on their shells
Mhm.
and all. Yeah, it was a cool experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's usually a code that follows with that. So like they mark it, and that's how you see if it's a recapture. Because
Yeah.
like the skews on their shell, you'll be able to tell ID a code from Dremel in it.
Wow. And then how about the snakes that you were, I know Karrie was saying, there was a battery operated chip that you put on or the tracker. Where does that go on the snake?
The
So, oh, go ahead. That's all you.
the transmitters are surgically implanted like subcutaneously, so just below the skin.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the snakes, they shed those skins off. So it is a little bit deeper than that, right? Maybe they're like a,
Yes. Yep.
oh, very cool. It's all fascinating. I was never into biology and all, but as I have grown older, I love, what's possible, what people do. And like you studying for ticks, uh, how critical of a thing that is, how many people get Lyme's disease and all. So it's really good to know that, those opportunities are there to study so many varieties of animals there or bugs or other things. Yeah. Still seeing if there's any questions. All right. Do you have anything else for us? The two of you that you found, with the friends group things. I know fall internship is what, like a 6 month? Was it a 6 month internship or 3 months?
So mine is 3 months. Willow's was shorter just because of, well, she can talk about why she had to end early. What
Yeah.
else?
Mine was actually only 5 weeks. It was a good 5 weeks, but
Oh,
I had to cut mine short because I'm actually a high school wrestling coach, and so my season
oh.
started.
Yeah, no, both of you are in sports also, then caring for wildlife. Uh, it's like quite a passion, different passions. You bring them together, so that shows. But yeah, so let us know. Like, I know Amy would reach out to you separately. She always gets feedback from our interns, to see what worked for you, what didn't work for you. I know you had, short period with the refuge, but maybe there's an opportunity in the future. We'd love to have you back. Yeah. No other questions? I know half an hour. Good, very good, well spent half an hour. Thank you for your time. Enjoy. Good luck with everything. You know. Oh, there's a new message. Let me see. Okay, just thank you. Yeah, thank you again. Yeah, take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.